Waveforms play a very important role in almost every subject of fSynth 5. In essence, a waveform is a short audio signal designed to be looped, generating an audio or control periodic signal. The most basic examples of these waveforms are called sine, triangle, square, and sawtooth. To start, let's load a new sound from the patch window. Although a large number of waveforms are already made available from the fSynth 5 wavelist, this virtual synth does not limit you to the factory-provided waveforms. To understand a little better this concept, let's highlight the basic sine wave and press New. As you can see, fSynth automatically shifts from the patch window to the wave window. In this wave page, you can edit the amplitude and the envelope of the waveform on display, just by drawing it with your mouse with the use of the drawing tools provided. Or you can also build your own new waveform from scratch and save it for future usage. This wave page is composed by 5 main menus: the Editable Waveform menu, which selects the waveform in which you are actually going to work on, the Used By menu, giving you information about the source of this particular waveform, the Waveform menu, in which you get to interact and edit your waveform, the Spectrum menu, which displays the first 64 harmonics of your editable waveform, and, lastly, the Morph menu, which allows you to mix different waveforms into a morph wave. We will be morphing waves later on, but for now, let's focus on our single sine waveform. The sine waveform is a repetitive, smooth oscillation from the zero amplitude value to the maximum positive value and then back to zero, before inverting that same maximum value to a maximum negative value, and then back to zero again. This produces a continuous audio signal that loops in a chosen frequency. From this menu, you get a lot of options for waveform editing. These first 3 options are drawing tools. The first line draw tool allows you to build a waveform with straight lines starting from this yellow marker. To test it, I'm going to try and build a triangle waveform with the same amplitude peaks as our sine wave. As you can hear, our audio output has a little more arching sound to it than our previous sine wave. But these changes can also be done only in certain parts of the wave. For example, let me undo back to our original wave. Now, let's try and convert the first cycle of this sine wave to a sawtooth wave. From the drawing tools, you can also pick the Curve Draw tool. This works just about the same way as a line draw tool, but instead it generates curves. I'm going to try and draw back to a sine wave type. Up next is the Stretch tool. Once selected, 2 vertical lines will appear at once. Clicking and moving your mouse will allow you to stretch or compress it within the lines. This can be useful, especially if you want to include noise or a little bit of harsh with amplitude peaks within your wave. From the Transform drop-down list, you get to choose between different options that can be very useful when working with audio, like Normalize, which is a very basic audio process that pushes the amplitude over the whole waveform until any of its peaks reaches the limit. Also, you get a DC offset. which assures that the waveform's energy is evenly distributed between its positive and negative sections. You can also choose between phase offset, invert a phase, or reverse the whole waveform. Pressing this mix option will open a menu where you can mix two different waveforms selected from the waveform selector. But we will get back to this one later on. Fractalize allows great waveform manipulations and works like a charm when you are looking for more powerful and organic waveforms. The iteration selector allows you to adjust the level of manipulation from 2 to 8. The displacement will allow you to shift from the modifications being made to the actual original wave, from 0 to 100. As for the dB level, it controls the intensity of these changes. Filter, FEM, and wave shape distortion are the same filter, modulation, and wave shaping aspects of audio that we've discussed on our last videos. I'm not going to talk about them again just so that I don't repeat myself that much. But remember, the best thing is always never to be afraid of exploring and bending things until you are satisfied of what you have accomplished. The next groups are the loading, import, clear, and template options. You don't have to keep going back to the patch menu every time you want to create a new wave. You can always press load and choose a new waveform from the list. dB menu and offset menu control the intensity and offset of your waveform. As for the spectrum menu, it allows you to edit the first 64 harmonics of the edited waveform. The upper half of the display shows you the harmonics amplitude. As for the lower half, their phase. From the Draw Mode menu, you can choose between the Single Harmonic Draw tool or the Multi-Harmonics Draw tool. In the Transform drop-down menu, you get options like Invert Phase, Shift Harmonics, and Loading, Saving, and Clear options. Let's now head forward to morphing waves into one single waveform. From the patch window, loading a new sound or using an already created oscillator, choose a morph wave from the wave list. At this point, you can notice that a new wave is set at the top of the list between parentheses. This wave is the unsaved waveform I have created minutes ago. If I choose to save this wave for future usage, this wave will show up with its chosen name in the library waves list. But for now, I'm going to pick the Analog 4 morph wave and press New. On the wave window, there are now two waves displayed, which together produce the Analog 4 morph wave as a result. You can switch between wave 1 and 2 using these buttons, and edit each of these waves separately. But right now, I want to show you the morph menu display. Here is basically where you can mix and edit both waveforms, acting over the final morph wave instantaneously. The yellow anchor points allow you to choose which period of the wave 1 you want to morph with the period chosen for wave 2. You can choose up to 4 anchor points. As for the oscillator main transition, it allows you to choose which wave you want to have more impact over the other and mix it in a final output. The value 0 lets wave 1 take full control, as the value 100 sets the wave 2 as a result. So to have an even mix between both waves, you must choose a value close to 50. If you want to mix your own two waves into a morph wave, that can be done simply by starting two oscillators with the waves you want to see morphed, and then copy and paste them to the morph wave on the Waves menu. Let me quickly show you how that can be done. I'll just mix one sine wave with one sawtooth wave. As you can see, after pasting each of them to the Wave Editor window, they show up on the Morph Editing menu for you to work on. You can then modify your actions over each wave to find the sound you are looking for. That is all for editing waveforms and spectrum. We will return for our next chapter, envelopes.